Well, I want to thank you all for allowing me to come today and speak to you on school safety in the state of Georgia. I first want to tell you thank you for what you are going to be doing. My wife is an educator, and I am thankful that we have people that are willing to stand up and work to prepare our children and our young adults to go into service in life. So I want to thank you all for that, and thank you for allowing me to do that, or for allowing me to speak to you. There's several things I kind of wanted to kind of go over what our agency does. I work for the Georgia Emergency Management Homeland Security Agency. When I first started in 2015, I was at what we would call a school safety coordinator. And our agency is statutorily obligated by the official code of Georgia. There's a section 20-2-1185 that mandates us to assist the public school systems in the state of Georgia with their safety. We are a non-regulatory agency, so we are by invite, but we have to offer our services for help. And we do that by helping we help the schools develop and maintain their safety plans. We serve as technical advisors to that. We serve as response if needed. If a school has a incident and they need a response that is greater than what the local public safety can offer, they need more resources, we can assist with that. We can assist in acquiring more resources. We provide training, technical assistance. We help them develop and run exercises and drills. And we basically, we provide anything having to do with school safety in the state of Georgia. I work with I actually cover 24 counties. I work with every school in that county. I also reach out to my universities, my private schools, my private universities, critical infrastructure, hospitals, power companies, things like that, to assist them with any of this training. And if I can get this to work, I know it worked here just a second ago. I just kind of wanted to kind of just a brief run in of what we do. I saw it a second ago. Y'all forgive me just a second. Okay. But for some reason, it is not wanting to do it now. Okay, that's fine. We will rock on. All right. So basically what my job is, because we are not mandated, I have to go and develop relationships with my area schools. And I usually start with the superintendents, develop a relationship with them. I go down to any safety personnel that are involved. Many school systems in the state of Georgia are now developing not just a safety team, but a safety director, which is a wonderful tool, because what we have seen in the past is a school system, especially a smaller school system, more rural school system, they will have somebody that is responsible for safety, but that person will also have maybe 4 or 5 other roles: maintenance, facilities, maybe HR. They've got many hats to wear. And while safety is important, so are all those other avenues. So what we have seen is a transition since one of the recent tragedies that have happened. We've seen a transition to more of a school safety director with a safety team under them, which helps. It really helps those persons be able to focus on school safety. And in doing that, we've seen an increase in the substance of the school safety plans. We've also seen an increase in the request for training. We've seen an increase in the request for drills and exercises. And we're always happy to help school systems do that. With you all going into education, at some point, many of you will probably transition to a role of, a superintendent, or, an associate superintendent, or maybe a director of safety. And just know that we are always able to help you out. We are always willing to help you out. There are 8 of us in the state of Georgia. We have the state of Georgia divided up into 8 regions, and we're here to help you. We don't cost anything. Our taxes pay my salary, pay for our equipment, pay for all our training resources. So we are a free resource available to you in the education world. That please, I always tell people, please use me. Use me. I'm happy to come. I've got a state vehicle, a state's gas account, and a Spotify account. I will travel anywhere in the state of Georgia to come and assist. Or if I can, I've got several other coworkers that would be happy to come assist. So we do that. I'll talk about some of the training that we provide. Since Uvalde, the tragedy at Uvalde, probably the 2 most requested courses are the CRAZE course, which is the Civilian Response to Active Shooter Events, and the Stop the Bleed course. And what we have seen in the education world prior to some of these tragedies happening, that faculty and staff, even students, did not receive training on what they should do in the event of an active attack. And we're trying to change that, and we're making headway. Us, along with all of our public safety partners and our education partners, we're making headway there. We come out with a very simple, thing to do. Run, hide, fight, avoid, deny, defend. Just some simple tools that you can use, put in your tool belt to use in the event that you, your students, your coworkers, you're ever in one of these tragic events. So that's probably our most requested class. We also teach, I mentioned the Stop the Bleed course. After Parkland, the former governor of Georgia put a bunch of money into Stop the Bleed kits. And what these kits are basically, there's tourniquets, there's pressure bandages, there's gloves, basic things that you can do. You don't have to be an EMT. You don't have to be a doctor to be able to use these. These kits are all over the place now. I know the University of Georgia, I know they're all over the place there. They're all over, public school systems. We gave several kits to every public school system in the state of Georgia. And we were able to do that through, the former governor, and the current governor has continued to do this. We've provided even more kits. And what we have found in a lot of these tragic events is that people don't lose their lives. Most people don't lose their lives because of gunshots. They lose their lives because of blood loss. And these kits can help that. They can help mitigate that. They can help prevent that. So that's why this class has been very, very popular. We teach at houses of worship, synagogues. We teach this at hospitals, businesses. We teach it all over the place, and it's been very popular. We also teach, as an emergency management unit agency, we can't get tunnel vision into active attack. We also deal with weather events. In fact, we just had a recent weather event a few weeks ago that affected schools, affected, the quality of life. So we have to take that all hazards approach. And that's one of the things that our agency does is we use that all hazard mentality. That yes, we want to plan for active attacks. Yes, we want to plan for, bleeding, but we also need to worry about weather. We need to worry about hazardous material incidents. We need to worry about medical incidents. What happens if somebody at our schools has a heart attack or, maybe, has some sort of stroke, has some sort of medical issue. We have to work into the safety plan what the school system is going to do on that, and we provide training on that. We also provide training on suspicious activity reporting, because in several of these active attacks, there has been information that has been posted online or told or said or noticed beforehand that has not gotten to where it needs to go because, for several reasons. One, people didn't know how to report it. People were afraid to report it. People just didn't know that they were seeing suspicious activity. So we're trying to educate the education system in the state of Georgia on what suspicious activity is, how to report it. And law enforcement is a great tool for that. We have an anonymous reporting app now in the state of Georgia called See Something, Send Something that we can use to report suspicious activity, report it anonymously if you want to. Several school systems have implemented their own system. And that's great. It doesn't matter what system you use as long as you have some sort of way to report activity that is suspicious because, with with a lot of these incidents, we could have intervened beforehand in some way, shape, or fashion. And we want to do that. If we can stop an event before it happens, wonderful, wonderful. We can, get help for people, maybe, we can save lives. And that's the goal of our agency and in helping with the safety in the schools in Georgia. We also provide training on exercise. I know y'all probably remember in when you were in grade school and high school doing, drills, doing fire drills, doing, severe weather drills. A lot of schools have started doing lockdown drills, things like that. We want to get educators trained. We want them to give them the tools that they need. Should one of these, any kind of tragedy happen, they have the tools necessary to be able to respond appropriately and hopefully save lives and as a secondary, possibly save, property. So that's where we're at in the state of Georgia. We have recently, as an agency, we have received training from a gentleman by the name of Dr. Gene Geisinger on behavioral threat assessments, because what we have found is not many school systems in Georgia had behavioral threat assessment teams. They would kind of take a reactive approach. If something happened, now we're going to react and we're going to take a look at it. Well, we're trying to change that. We're trying to take a more proactive approach, get a team that is trained, that meets regularly, that takes on any threats or potential threats that may happen. We're real big on collaboration. When we look at these threats, we don't just use counselors on these teams. We use public safety personnel. We use athletic personnel, education. We use teachers. We use of course, counselors, but we get kind of that all hazard, all discipline approach to this, so that we can more accurately determine if we actually have a threat to the school. For instance, if we have a coach maybe that notices that little Johnny, for the longest time, he was a wonderful player, but recently some things have happened and he's not he may have a little bit more of an attitude, or he may not be up to what he used to be. Well, as a coach, okay, that may be, they take that by itself and they go, well, maybe he's just tired. Maybe, he just kind of, we tend to kind of push that off. Well, if we also get that on that team, we have that educator. Hey, little Johnny's grades have changed. In the last couple months, we know some things have happened, but his grades have really dropped. Or maybe we get the counselor and we get in there and say, you know what, little Johnny, I've noticed that his friends have changed. Maybe, he doesn't hang out with the people that he used to. Those are all indicators. And if we don't collect the dots, we can't connect the dots. So we put all those together with a behavioral threat assessment team. And now we can say, okay, you know what, maybe we need to do some investigation. Maybe we need to get our public safety partners involved or some counselors and go and find out what is going on. It could be something very simple that, maybe he's sick, or maybe he's lost someone that he loves, but there could be some other factors that we need to consider. And if so, we need, for the safety of our students and for the safety of little Johnny, maybe we need to put in some counseling, or maybe we need to maybe give him some, send him to a doctor or a specialist and get him some medication. But there's things that we can do to intervene so that it doesn't come to where it becomes a one of these tragic events, like an active shooter or an active attack. So that's one thing that we can really help with the school systems in Georgia. It has been well received. We do a safety conference every year in June. This year, we're actually coming to Athens. It's June 19th through the 21st. It's the Georgia School Safety and Homeland Security Conference. And we invite anybody that has to do with education in the state of Georgia, specifically safety. We will have principals, we will have superintendents, SROs, fire chiefs, sheriffs, EMA directors, teachers, we'll have nurses, counselors, we'll have all kinds of people there. And our goal is to provide them, tools that they need to be able to do their job better. So, with you all going into education, when I first graduated college, I wanted to take this road right here. And then I realized when I got to that road, there's 4,000 other roads that open up. So you may go in thinking, okay, I'm going to be a teacher or I'm going to be a principal, but then you end up as an educator or maybe a safety director or a counselor. So we want to provide those tools for people in the state of Georgia. So that's kind of a nutshell of what we do. If there's any questions, if I can answer any questions for y'all, I'd be happy to take those questions. Favorite part of my job. The favorite part of my job is building relationships. Everything I do requires me to build relationships. And I love that. I love to talk to people. And in building relationships, when I go to school systems or to counties, when I first started, it was people didn't play in the same sandbox together well. I'll just say it like that. Maybe the sheriff, the superintendent, there were, factors that would, I don't want to say prevent them from working together, but they didn't work together very well. So my job is to go in and get those people to work together. And I enjoy that. I love going in with a challenge and thinking, you know what, Sheriff Jones doesn't like Superintendent Smith, but they need to work together, because if Parkland has taught us anything, it's that the public, we as the public, we expect our people to work together and train together and cooperate. And if they don't, we will be held accountable. And so that's my favorite part of my job. I hate to say this sounds really sick and gross, but I like responding to incidents too. And it's not because of the incident. I like being able to go somewhere and be able to help somebody. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I love it. It's my calling to be able to help people. And if I can go help the schools get safer, then by all means, that's the favorite part of my job. Let's see, what are some things that we can do to maintain a safe classroom? Oh my goodness, lock your doors. We have not had a breached classroom door in the United States. Lock your doors. And more importantly than that, maintain situational awareness. Be aware of what is going on around you. I love the fact that teachers are starting to, when I go into schools now, they're starting to notice me. We have gotten to the point where if we see something that's going right, if something makes the hair on the back of our neck stand up, or, we start noticing in the education world, we start noticing that people are having problems, notice that, tell somebody. There are so many resources out there that can help if we know about it. So just report. If you see something that looks suspicious or makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, report it. Tell somebody. Tell your public safety partners, your SROs. Tell your school administrators. Let somebody know, please. I have seen several instances that I've responded to where somebody knew there was a school threat here recently in one of my counties, where a student had told the teacher that they saw a gun, and they had heard somebody they'd overheard someone say that they were going to shoot the school up. They told the teacher. The teacher didn't say anything until about 2 days later. They were talking to their spouse. The spouse said, "Well, did you report it?" And the teacher said, "Well, no, it's just blank being blank." They went and reported that, and law enforcement got involved way behind the curve, and the school system got involved. They were able to go intervene. All right. That was probably a case of someone just blowing off steam, but we don't know that. We have to know that. So if you see something or hear something, please report it. Do more investigation. Find out more about it. That's probably one of the greatest things you can do to maintain a safe classroom. Pay attention to what's going on around you. If you see or hear something, report it, and then keep your doors locked. Know your safety plan. Every school is required in the state of Georgia by OCGA 22-1185 to have a safety plan. Know what your role in that safety plan is. If it's a fire drill, know where you're supposed to go. Know what you're supposed to do. Volunteer. If you have a safety team at the schools you go to, please volunteer. Get active. Get involved. As educators, you are responsible for educating the children in the state of Georgia. You are also responsible for your safety, and you will be held accountable. So please get involved. Who is your counterpart who serves? McIntosh County in South Georgia. Mr. Sidney Bush. Mr. Sidney Bush is my counterpart down there. He covers the coast. The middle South Georgia is Miss Kate Hargrove. She came to us from the Department of Natural Resources. We currently have an opening down in Southwest Georgia, Valdosta, down in Colquitt, that area. We have an opening there. Middle West Georgia is Clint Westbrook. He takes, Columbus. He takes that area, Jones County, Macon. Middle East Georgia, we have Ashley Kelly. She just came to us probably about 4 or 5 months ago. Wonderful, wonderful person there, wonderful, able to help. We just now, for our metro area, we just now hired a coordinator. He started, in fact, I was training him earlier today. He's been here about a week now. Matt Dunn. He came to us from Woodstock Police Department. He was actually a bomb dog handler for several years. And of course, I cover Northeast Georgia, and then Northwest Georgia, Mr. Kevin Stanfield. He covers Northwest Georgia. So those are my, how I offer these training houses whenever they're asked. You want to do Stop the Bleed training, and I will be in Gwinnett County. All you have to do is call us up. You can go to our website, gma.ga.gov, go down to what we do, and go to school safety. There is actually a map there that has all our contact information, has our emails and our cell phones. So go there and go to the coordinator in your area. With Gwinnett County, it would be Matt, but right now it would probably be me because I'm helping him. I love teaching the Stop the Bleed class. So we would be happy to do that. Any specific advice for keeping kids safe if something were to happen while we are transitioning in the hallway? With the avoid, deny, defend, first of all, give the kids the permission and the teachers the permission to be able to make choices. All right. Because if you're in a hallway, what concerns me about lockdowns, when they normally do lockdown drills, they normally do it when everyone is in their homeroom class, which is fine if you're in your homeroom class. I did have a school system do that. I told them, I said, I would do one when the students are in the hallway during class change. They did one. It was deer in the headlight looks. And then students got in such a habit of going to their homeroom, they started going across the school to their homeroom class. So tell the students that, if you can't get to your homeroom, get to a bathroom, go outside, get away from this, go somewhere where you can be safe. So that's why, we recommend, hey, teach them to have options. If you can't get to a classroom, then you need to run outside. You need to run somewhere where you're safe. So that's something you can do while transitioning. Is there someone in your position for every state? No, there is not. For those of us who are looking to teach in another state, no, there is not. We have talked to some states about starting what we do in other states. I would love to. I actually come from the state of Texas, and they have started a school safety program. They don't have coordinators yet, but I am hoping, because I still have family and friends out there, I'm hoping that they will be able to implement that. So no, there's not. I'm hoping that we will be able to do that. How would you get into, okay, wonderful. Well, Miss Ashley is actually a teacher. She came from the education world. Now to get into our position, you actually have to become sworn. We are Homeland Security Task Force agencies partnered with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. So to get into what we do, go to a school police department. If you're a teacher, see if, hey, will you guys send me through the academy? That's how you would get into our career. But yeah, we take all types. Ashley is a teacher, and it's wonderful because with our dealing with schools, she knows the school side of it. I came from a law enforcement and an EMT background. I know what to do. I know what to do with bad people. I know how to help people. I don't know what in the education world until I got into this. So that's it's a wonderful career path. It's very rewarding. What are your thoughts on ALICE protocol for school shootings? We actually teach the CRAES. I have not been through the ALICE, but I've talked to several people, and I know several school systems use it. I think there are some good points in it. One thing that I do like about it is it has options. I think there's quite a few options, which I'm a little concerned about, because I think there's like 5 different things you can do, whereas ours is 3. But as long as you do something, if you get into one of these, if you're in one of these active attacks, don't do nothing. Do something. And that's what I do like about the ALICE program. One of the ALICE program, if I'm not mistaken, like I said, I've not been through the program. I think they really teach running out. That might be a good idea based on the situation, but it might also be a good idea to lock down. So it's all about situational awareness, knowing what is going on around you. So that's my thoughts on it. I think the idea that it teaches options is wonderful. How do we get practice with de-escalation methods? Okay. Look up a term called two terms, verbal judo. There's a class that we used to teach in law enforcement. We've kind of gotten away from it, and I think that is a detriment to our profession. Judo, they teach you basically how to de-escalate. Now, having said that, we actually have that's one of the classes we teach is an de-escalation class for educators. We teach, it's about an hour-long class, and we talk about how you can't de-escalate every situation. It comes down to that situation. You do what you can until you can't do that anymore and it's not working, and then you may need to think other methods. But we do offer a class for that. We just started that class in a conjunction with the Department of Education. I want to say about 2 years ago. It was kind of during COVID. We got a grant and we put it together, and it's been very, very well received. Okay, what is the scariest thing I have responded to? School shooting. I have responded since I've been with the state, and I'll go from the state and then I can go into my law enforcement career. If the school shootings, I have responded to one in Jackson, or threats of a school shooting. I responded to one in Rockdale County when they had a warehouse. I actually happened to be down at our headquarters. I was 20 minutes away, and I went ahead and went over to there. Thank goodness we had the resources there. We were able to track the shooter all the way into the state of Alabama, and we were able to take him into custody. Jackson County, I don't know if any of you are from Jackson County, but a few years ago, they actually had a threat of a school shooting right there when school got there that morning. I just happened to be in Hall County, and I got a call from the SRO and the sheriff and the safety director, and I hurried on over there. That was scary because I have a lot of friends in Jackson County. And this happened when people were right there. They were unloading for school. It happened at about 8:30 in the morning. So it was scary because you have all these responders going in, and you have students running out. So it was a very scary situation. My scariest situation that I've responded to as a law enforcement officer, it was when I worked for the city of Toccoa. I responded to a domestic with one of my partners, and we pulled up into the driveway. It was one that we had gone to all the time, and we kind of let complacency get a hold of us. I pulled right up in the driveway, which they teach us in the academy, don't pull into a driveway. Pulled right up into the driveway. The male who I had dealt with before was very calm, and he asked if he could go sit in his dump truck that was sitting there. Again, complacency took over, and I said, yes, go ahead. We'll talk with your wife. She was very agitated. So he got in his dump truck. The next thing I heard was the truck starting and gears shifting. He backed up and went over my patrol car, tried to go over my patrol car. The scariest thing was my partner was right behind his truck. I did not know that was the closest I've ever come to shooting somebody. I had actually started pulling the trigger, and I don't know why the gun didn't go off. And I'm glad it did not go off, because about the time I started to pull the trigger, my partner ran around the side. He was okay. So we got the guy out and put him in custody. But it was scary. It was the scariest thing that was the scariest law enforcement I've ever responded to. Can you talk about how you balance information about safety and not make? Oh, okay. Yes, that's a wonderful question. How do we balance? Again, it goes back to the verbal judo. I think providing information to educators and to children takes away some of that anxiety, because I've been at school systems and universities where they do not want to talk about active shooter because we don't want to scare people. There is more anxiety there if you don't talk about it. Now, on the other side, I don't want to go tell a 6-year-old kid, hey, guess what? There could be a shooting here. I don't want to tell him that. However, the teachers, they can talk in ways. I'm going to use one of my schools, for example, lockdown drills. One of my schools, they were scared. They were frightened to do lockdown drills with their pre-K and elementary students. And I understand it can be very traumatic. Well, in the CRAZE class, we teach what we call tactical breathing. And what we teach that for is so that people can get their heart rate down. And what we do is we tell them, okay, breathe in for 3 or 4 seconds, hold your breath for 3 or 4 seconds, and then breathe out for 3 or 4 seconds. That will lower your heart rate and allow you to think calmly. I have a first grade teacher who took that lesson to her first grade class. She told them when they went into a lockdown, they practiced a lockdown, and she says, okay. She had students that were saying, teacher, my heart rate, I'm scared. And she said, practice breathing. And she said it was interesting because they started, the students would close their eyes and they'd 1, 2, 3, 4, and they started doing that. And my heart rate went down. And it was interesting because she told me that she had students that were absent the day they first practiced that. The next day when they practiced that, other students were there, and those students were telling those students. These are first graders. So there's a way to balance that information where you can tell people, okay, listen, something bad may happen, but if so, here's what you need to do. If you hear, something that sounds real loud, that's real scary, stop and breathe. Okay, follow the instructions of your teacher. And if you do that as educators, that can help lower that anxiety. And I found that really works. I'm going to give a shout out to my wife here. My wife was that teacher that taught that. She taught that to her first grade teachers. And she said, it actually helped. And now they go around and they teach other kids, hey, during a lockdown, something that's really scary, follow the instructions of your teacher, practice breathing, and it can help. So that's how we can balance information. Give information, but I don't have to tell people that, I can tell people, guess what? Something bad may happen. If something bad happens that scares you, here's what you can do. Rather than tell them, what, someone may come in here with a gun and start shooting. Okay, you're telling this, you're saying the same thing, but you're doing it in such a way that it doesn't scare people. It lowers their anxiety. How do we apply if we are interested? Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. If you are interested in working from our agency in any sort of fashion, go to teamgeorgia.gov, TEAM Georgia.gov. Look for our agency, and we have all kinds of openings. That's how you can apply. You've got to go through and fill out a background check. You've got to fill out all this information, but that's how you apply. And we do internships too. I just spoke at a college up in North Carolina. Where they had people that were interested from all disciplines that want to get into emergency management, public safety. I absolutely come and apply for us. Can you talk about? I think did I already answer this? Talk about balanced information about safety and not making. I think I already answered that. Okay, how can we tell young? Okay, yes. How can we tell younger children about things without scaring them? A good approach for preparing kindergartners. I have another school, and this was not my wife, so I don't have to brag on it, but I'm gonna brag on this school. It's down towards the southern end. They have classrooms and they have pre-K and kindergartners that are in the lower story classrooms where it's very dark. When they turn the lights off, it gets super dark. And I love what these teachers did. They went and got LED lanterns. And when they have to go into a lockdown, they get all the teachers the teachers get all the students over in the corner. They bring these little, very, very small LED lamps out, and they say, hey, kids, we're going to go camping. But there's a bear outside, so we've got to be really quiet. And I thought that was one of the neatest ideas. They have that little lantern, one of those little teacup LED lanterns, and so there's a little bit of light there, not enough to draw attention from some active attack coming from outside. But they told me that it will help the anxiety level. It will help preparing kindergartners and pre-K. So I think that was a wonderful idea. We actually have a story from Sandy Hook where a substitute teacher, first of all, if you are going to go into education, think about these things. Think about what you would do in some of these events, because that will help you when the event happens. That will help you think clearly. And there's one of the educators that unfortunately lost her life. She was calm during this event. She calmly got all her kids into the bathroom, locked the door. She didn't fit in the bathroom, so she had to stay outside. But they remained calm. Unfortunately, she lost her life. But kids are going to react like their teacher is reacting. If you panic, and the kids are going to panic. If you remain calm, their anxiety is going to go up, but there's a better chance that they're going to remain calm. So that's one of the things that you can do with everything from pre-K all the way up to high school. Remain calm. Think about it. You may be scared, but try to at least remain calm, or at least look like you're remaining calm, because that's going to be effective in helping some of those people relieve their anxiety. Did that answer that question? Like I said, younger kids, I don't want to go tell a younger kid. I'd like for them to remain as innocent as possible as long as they can. However, society dictates that we need to prepare them for bad things. We put seatbelts on, kids, because and we tell them, if we're in an accident, this is going to protect you. So take that same mentality when you go to these kindergartners or first graders or pre-K. Take that same mentality that, you're doing it for their good. You don't have to tell them that, hey, somebody may come in here and shoot, but you can say, hey, something bad may happen. If something bad happens, follow your teacher, follow her or his directions, and act accordingly. So there's a way to do that. Is anxiety going to go up? Absolutely, it's going to go up a little bit, but we can mitigate that. We can help it stay lower than it should. Are there any other questions? Are y'all bored or tired of listening to me talk? Good. Everybody's muted, so I can't hear your responses. If there's anything I can ever help you with, my information is on. I gave you the address to our website, or if you live in another area of the state, that coordinator would be happy to help you. I want to thank you guys for letting me come and talk to you. Again, thank you so much for what you're going into. My wife has been teaching for several years, and she loves it. Teaching is a calling. I believe that. You are there to positively affect people who may not have come from the best backgrounds, and you will be the only stability that those children have. And I can't say enough how much I appreciate what you guys are doing. When she first started, she got to change some people, and when COVID happened, everyone was locked down. She's told me she could tell the students that were locked down for so long because they did not have the interaction with the teachers. They did not have the interaction with the students. So what you guys do, not just to educate them, but to provide them some stability. I can't tell you how much I appreciate. You are needed. So thank you very much. If I can ever help you out, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to. If there's no other questions, I'm done talking. You are so welcome. You are so welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shanks. It was very informational. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Next month's workshop will take place on March 22nd, and it will be the Professional Association of Georgia Educators will be giving us the 411 on all teaching things as a new employee. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at MFECOE and read the weekly Mary Frances Early College of Education Connection newsletter for updates on all future events. You can also text at MFECOE to the number 81010 for text updates. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.